Hello and welcome to 72 Dragons. We have the pleasure of speaking with a very talented individual and a highly accomplished director, writer, and producer, Venice Atienza, who is the director of the beautiful award-winning documentary Last Days at Sea, which was selected by acclaimed film festivals, including the Berlin International Film Festival and Amsterdam International Documentary Film Festival, among many others. She leads with curiosity and has observed how personal and societal transformations become evident in our daily lives. Welcome to this interview, Venice. It is an honor and a pleasure to have you with us today. My name is Pietro Aparicio from 72 Dragons. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise with our audience today. Without any further ado, let's start with the first question. You co-founded Filmmaking Film and Audiovisual Art Productions with Taiwanese director and producer Fan Wu. You created a space for author-driven documentaries. I'm interested in understanding how they came about. What were the reasons behind such a great initiative?
So Fan and I were classmates in our master program. The master's is called Doc Nomads. It's an Erasmus Mundus course, and we started working together back then. And at the time, we wanted to know if there was a production company that can take the films that we wanted to make. And during the process of starting our films, we realized that maybe we can create the space for ourselves. So that's how we decided that we would make Filmmaking Film Productions.
Great. I think that might be a similar story for many other filmmakers, but thank you for sharing. Your work has been recognized and acclaimed in various film festivals, as we mentioned, the Berlin International Film Festival and Amsterdam International Documentary Film Festival. Last Days at Sea, how has this recognition impacted your career and your artistic growth as a Filipino filmmaker?
I think in the beginning I was uncertain if there was a space for the types of films that we wanted to make. We wanted to make really personal films that had connections and that can show how big societal transformations happen in personal lives.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't know if people would be interested to watch such films or if they would be moved in the same way that we were. But I think seeing how Last Days at Sea was received, it kind of reinforced that we are not alone in what we feel. The things that we observe, other people observe them too. So I think that for me is the biggest kind of takeaway from the whole experience, was that there is space for the types of films that we wanted to make.
That's very rewarding, and I think that's, as you saw, the response. So there is a niche for those films, and audience received them well. It all starts with an idea, but how do you approach the process of script writing and developing compelling narratives? Are there any particular themes or messages that you aim to convey through your films? I think you mentioned a little bit about that, but could you expand a bit more?
I think for me, every single film that I have made has always started with an encounter. And there is no one theme per se. I have made films about growing old and about people moving away from their homes and about people returning after being away for a long time. But I think the common denominator among all of this is that all of them started with a personal encounter, and it was not really how can I say, it was not really thought of to become a film, but
Mm.
there was like a life encounter that really moved me. And I think my process as a writer is connected to trying to pinpoint what it is that moved me in these encounters. And so the whole writing process is about clarifying the very instinctive feeling. So for me, the whole process of making the film is, once it's clarified within me what it was that touched me, the process of filmmaking is the thing that helps me visualize it so that other people can feel it too. So that's basically the process.
Following on a, on a different question but connected. So collaboration is an integral part of filmmaking, and you mentioned Wu. Now, can you share with us some of your collaborations with fellow filmmakers, actors, or artists? How have these collaborations helped you grow as a filmmaker or influence your creativity and the final outcome of your projects?
Yes, I think I would start by saying that I feel that I'm really able to make the films that I make because of the people that I work with. For Last Days at Sea, I worked with Fan Wu as one of the producers and Anna as one of the editors. And even now, I'm also collaborating with the two of them again. I am producing Fan Wu's first feature film, and Anna, who is the editor of Last Days at Sea, is also editing Fan Wu's film. So the three of us have been working together since 2018. And I feel that this collaboration is both a safe space, but at the same time, it's a place that allows or pushes me to be brave, to question my own comforts, to kind of go beyond what I feel has always been like a normal practice for me. For me, the most precious thing about working with Fan and Anna is that there's always space for questions to rise, and I always say that we argue very well. Like we can really have disagreements, and really kind of go to the root of it. And so even if like there are, because if you're working on film, of course you're not always on the same page. Sometimes you have a different idea, and then the editor or your producer has another idea of how to go through things. I feel that it was really precious for me that I am working with people who are willing to go like really deep on the things that are different between us. And I think that it allows for the collaboration to grow. It's not just that, okay, I'm the director and then it's just my word that gets followed. They bring their own questions, their own doubts, and their own ideas into the work. And I think that there's a really high level of trust, which really helps for the film to grow and for all the things that we work on to grow. So yeah, I'm really grateful that I get to work with these people.
Fantastic. And it's so great to hear that how collaboration and partnership with Fan Wu and Anna has been helpful in your project. And before we were talking about 72 Dragons, what we do, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because 72 Dragons, very briefly, it's about creating a community of filmmakers, and we hope that people who are watching this interview can reach out to you and build those partnerships and collaboration, because this is what 72 Dragons is all about. It's creating communities. So that brings me to another question. and you already spoke a bit about that. But what is your message or advice that you'd like to share with aspiring filmmakers from across the world who aspire to make a mark in the industry?
Wow. Wow, that's a big question. um, I think the thing that I would like to tell them is something that I try to always remind myself, and it is to be open and to not be afraid to be vulnerable in all stages of filmmaking. At the beginning, something moves you, and you have to try to do research on it. And so you face the vulnerability of not knowing. And then afterwards, when you start to do the process of filmmaking, you enter something that you are not so sure of. And I feel that at every stage, it requires a certain kind of openness and vulnerability. um when you're editing, you come face to face with the footage that you filmed, and then you see all the things that you missed or all the mistakes that you've done, and you try to make another thing out of it, which also requires a different level of vulnerability and openness. And then in the end, when you show the film that you've been working so hard on to people, you're really putting your work in their hands. It's no longer yours, but at the same time, you're allowing them to enter your world. And I think that it's okay to not know, or to have doubts, or to be afraid to start. um I think that what's important is to live in the process, and to live it as much as one can. To not hurry, but to really kind of enjoy, like to find joy in every step of it, even if it requires us to be vulnerable, to open ourselves up. This I think this is the only thing that I try to remember, because for many times I put a lot of defenses around, and it really blocks me at some point, and then I have to come back again to this, to remind myself, no, it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to not know, it's okay to start. And so, yeah, I think this is one thing that I try to remind myself, and I hope that people would also remember to do this.
Thank you. Yeah, vulnerability is really scary for all of us, and I can appreciate for a filmmaker making himself or herself very vulnerable when showing their art and their productions, their films. So Venice Atienza, thank you for taking the time to answer these questions. Your insights and experience will really provide a valuable knowledge and inspiration to aspiring filmmakers and film enthusiasts. And we look forward to witnessing your continued creative journey. Thank you, Venice.
Thank you for having me.